and still I rise. And I rise to explain why I did what I did. And I did it with intentionality. The president indicated that he had a mandate. I said to the president, you do not have a mandate to cut Medicaid. I have constituents who need Medicaid. They will suffer and some will die if they don't get Medicaid. I heard the speaker when he said that I should cease. I did not, and I did not with intentionality. It was not done out of a burst of emotion. I was emotional about it, but I did it with intentionality. I think that on some questions of conscience, you have to be willing to suffer the consequences. And I have said I will. I will suffer whatever the consequences are, because I don't believe that in the richest country in the world, people should be without good health care. I stood up for my constituents then. I'm standing up for my constituents now. I am grateful to Mr. McGovern for what he has said. I'm grateful to those who have been standing with me. But I will tell you, I appreciate you. No anger. The officers who escorted me out, they were kind to me. I don't blame the speaker for anything. Friends, I would do it again. I have to be candid with you. I'm not trying to in some way insult you. This is a matter of principle. This is a matter of conscience. There are people suffering in this country because they don't have health care. I'll close with this. On some issues that are matters of conscience, it is better to stand alone than not stand at all. This is where I stand. I yield back.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Patriots, welcome back to the Right View Nation. Today we're diving into a heated debate straight from the House of Representatives. Representative Al Green took the floor, standing defiant as the House debated his censure. Now, as a proud American who believes in the Constitution, law, and order, it's important we analyze exactly what happened here. Buckle up, folks, because we're about to expose the hypocrisy and the real agenda behind this so-called stand for justice.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Massachusetts reserves. Gentleman from Washington is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to yield as much time as he may consume. A gentleman from Washington, Mr. Baumgartner.
Gentleman from Washington is recognized.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to start by thanking my colleague from Washington State, Mr. Newhouse. Donald Trump is not the Republican president, he's the American president. And what happened last night was beneath the dignity of the House and beneath the dignity of the American people. And I say that as someone who is new to this body. I'd also like to point out how it was perceived and how it may have been interpreted. As you know, each member of the House receives a guest ticket, and I decided to give my guest ticket, the first one that I would have for this kind of occasion, to a teacher from Eastern Washington, with the goal of inspiring an interest in civics and public service in that next generation of young people. In fact, we ran a competition for students to nominate their teacher. And the winning teacher that came had never been to Washington, D.C. before, had never been to the halls of Congress, and was so excited that she was here to watch this. And I have no idea what her political beliefs were. No idea whether she's Republican or Democrat or independent. She was just excited to be here as part of this experiment in democracy that we have. And all of her students were watching from home. And, you know, while it can be regrettable when, and it happens on both sides, when people have a spontaneous outburst of emotion and maybe say something they should, you know, what I saw, and what I worry about what her students saw last night, was a continued, premeditated attack, and some might even say the appearance of a violent and threatening action with the cane. And so that may have not been the intent, but I worry that those students, and what I saw as I watched, was a scene that was beneath the dignity of this House, beneath the dignity of the American people, and certainly beneath the dignity of our president. And so at some point, America cannot continue on this slide towards continual partisan fighting and all of the divisiveness. We all need to do better, including myself, I think every member of this body. So let's join together on this. Let's join together and realize that this episode was beneath the dignity of what the American people expect from Congress. And let's have this be a new beginning in civility from a low point that this body can rise and behave in the manner I think all of the people, the way that all the American people wanted to behave, and certainly those high school students that were watching from home, so excited that their teacher was here to experience this special moment. Thank you.
First of all, let's talk about Al Green's performance. I mean, speech. The man said he acted with intentionality, not emotion. But let's be real here. This was pure political theater, folks. If you have to insist over and over that you weren't being emotional, chances are you were. He stood up there and made this all about himself. I stood for my constituents. I would do it again. I will suffer the consequences. Sounds noble, right? But let's dig deeper. Green claims this was about Medicaid, about protecting health care for the poor. Listen, no conservative I know wants people to go without health care. But what we do want is accountability. Medicaid has been an abused, bloated system for years, draining taxpayers' hard-earned money while politicians like Green pretend to be saviors. Instead of real solutions, they push government dependency. That's not compassion, that's control. This isn't about helping people, it's about keeping them reliant on big government. He openly admits he refused to stop when the speaker told him to. Think about that, Patriots. This is an elected official blatantly ignoring the rules of the very institution he swore an oath to serve. And yet, when conservatives push back against government overreach, we get labeled as threats to democracy. Funny how that works, isn't it? This is the same kind of defiance that we saw from radical leftists who encourage lawlessness in our streets, in our institutions, and in our government. Now let's get to what Representative Dan Newhouse said. He pointed out something incredibly important. Our government is supposed to be an example to the American people. A teacher was in attendance with students watching from home, and what did they see? Not civil discourse, not professionalism. They saw grandstanding and rule-breaking. They saw what Newhouse called a premeditated attack. And the left wonders why Americans are losing faith in government, because they turn it into a circus. Let's talk about the real game being played here. Green and his allies thrive on division. They want America to be split. They want constant outrage. Why? Because when people are angry and divided, they're easier to control. They don't want bipartisan solutions. They don't want compromise. They want power. And folks, if we let them continue pushing this narrative, they will strip away everything that makes this country great. So what's the solution? It's simple. We the people have to stand strong. We have to reject this kind of political manipulation. We have to call out hypocrisy, demand accountability, and support leaders who put America first. If we don't, we'll keep watching radicals turn our institutions into playgrounds for their personal agendas. Folks, this is why your voice matters. This is why elections matter. This is why we must stand up for conservative values, for the Constitution, and for the dignity of this nation. If you agree, hit that like button, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. Do you think Green's actions were justified, or was this another left-wing stunt to push division? God bless America, and I'll see you in the next one.